Hello everyone. In this session, we are going to discuss about logistics and supply chain management. The contents covered are logistics, meaning and definition, the scope of logistics, logistics and interface with other functions, extension of logistics to supply chain management, need and importance of supply chain management. Let us begin by understanding the meaning of logistics. Logistics is derived from the French word loger, which is related to the supplies of armies in the military war. It deals with the movement of materials and finished goods from the point of manufacture to the point of consumption. It integrates materials management with sales and distribution management. Now, materials management is a function which covers materials planning and control, purchasing, stores and inventory control, and sales and distribution management deals with executing customer orders. Now, managing these functions individually could result in conflict of interest. Therefore, logistics management has evolved as an integrated approach to all these functions. Before 1970s, all the activities conducted by an organization were fragmented. Transportation was done separately, warehousing was done separately, distribution was done separately, materials handling was done separately, procurement and purchasing happened again separately. In the 1980s, all these functions came to be integrated into three: inbound logistics, conversions that happen within the organization, and outbound logistics related to the finished products distribution. Only in the 1990s has the concept of supply chain management has evolved, in which collaboration and coordination between functions within an organization and outside the organization started to getting focus. Now, according to the Logistics World 1997, logistics management is defined as the science of planning, organizing and managing activities that provide goods and services. According to the Council of Logistics Management is the process of planning, implementing and controlling the efficient and effective flow of goods, services and related information from the point of origin to the point of consumption for the purpose of conforming to the customer requirements. The key words that emanate from these definitions are planning, flow, implementing, controlling and communication. Planning means having a certain criteria and designing certain objectives for the logistics function. Although the plan may be defined by the logistics, it requires the support and inputs of other functional areas of the organization like finance, HR, procurement, production, etc. Flow here implies the flow of products, services and related information. Implementing. The term implementing means action. Logistics is action oriented. It is not just a theoretical concept, but it is a happening exercise. Now, controlling implies all these activities to be done within the parameters, within feasible parameters like reliability, consistency, etc. And the last keyword in the definitions is communication. Logistics has to communicate with all the parties involved in fulfilling all these functions, from moving the goods from the point of origin to the point of consumption. Such communication allows all the parties to plan their activities in a better way. Types of logistics. Although mostly we refer to business logistics, logistics may also be extended to military, event and service logistics. Now, business logistics is what we have just now discussed, a part of supply chain management that deals with the flow and storage of goods and services and related information. Military logistics is concerned with increasing the operational capability of the military forces by providing them with the required resources and keeping their equipment in a ready and reliable state. Event logistics deals with securing all the material and resources required for conducting an event, and once the event is over, withdrawing all those material and putting in proper places. And finally, service logistics is concerned with providing all the support, assets, everything required for delivering a service to the final consumers in order to give a sustained service in the long run. Objectives of logistics management. The primary objective of logistics management is to efficiently and effectively move the inventory in the supply chain in order to extend the desired level of customer service at least possible cost. There is a level of service that the firms want to deliver to their customers, and for this movement of goods and services is required. All this has to be done at the minimum cost possible. This is what logistics works at. The secondary objectives facilitate the achievement of primary objectives, and these secondary objectives are to reduce inventory to minimum possible level across the chain, across the entities that are there in the logistics management. Inventory has to be maintained at the least possible level to achieve reliable and consistent delivery performance. All the logistics activities aim to deliver performance that satisfies the customers. To achieve maximum economy in freight costs. Now, cost cutting is one major objective of logistics management, hence cutting the transportation cost, freight cost is required to ensure minimum or no damage to products during transportation and storage, to ensure quick response to customer requirements. Scope of logistics management. Now, logistics is relevant to any type of organization, whether manufacturing or services organization, that tries to maximize the customer satisfaction. Logistics is equally important for an educational institution, for a medical store, for a departmental store, for hospital, for hospitality industry like hotels, saloons, etc. Anywhere customers are involved and their satisfaction is the objective, logistics comes into play. The scope of logistics decisions covers first deciding which markets to operate. Firms have to decide among the several markets that are there which ones they want to operate in. Once they know their markets and customers, they have an understanding about what to produce, and once they know what to produce, the next decision involves deciding whether to do the production by itself or outsourcing the production to a third party. And in outsourcing also, should the firm outsource all the activities or only a few activities. Then comes the decision of choosing the right location for the plant and layout of the plant. Many operations research models are available for arriving at these decisions. Inventory management is a key decision area in logistics. Here, what service levels are required to meet customer requirements, and to maintain that service level, what inventory level has to be maintained by the firm. Then customer service policies, then distribution network that is to be built up in order to service the customers. Then storage facilities, modes of transportation, selection and management of carriers of transportation. Then packaging decisions that are affecting the transportation and storage functions. Now, logistics includes three aspects: inbound logistics, outbound logistics and reverse logistics. Now, inbound logistics is associated with the incoming material into the factory, into the organization, which aids the production, smooth running of production. An organization requires raw materials, component parts, packaging material in order to produce the finished products. Now, getting all these materials into the organization, into the factory, is the concern of inbound logistics. And outbound logistics deals with the finished products that are to be delivered to the end users. Material handling, physical handling of finished products, moving them from the factory to the godowns and from godowns to the wholesalers and retailers, all these are the concern of outbound logistics. Then there is a concept of reverse logistics. Whenever products are returned by the customers, or when products come to the end of their useful life, they have to be disposed of in an appropriate way. Reverse logistics deals with this process. This is also called product recovery management. All activities that are related to collecting, disassembling and processing used products come under reverse logistics. This figure highlights the components of logistics management. Here, logistics is seen as having a systems approach. A system has input, conversion and output. The inputs here are natural resources, human resources, information resources, etc. And as can be seen in the figure, the outputs of such a systematic approach are the marketing orientation of the firms, creation of time and place utility, and efficient distribution. Here in between, the management functions like planning, implementing and control happen from the logistics perspective. So, raw material is converted into finished goods, in between there is in process inventory. In order for all these inputs and conversion and outputs to happen, logistics performs the given functions or given activities. The key activities involved in logistics are taking care of customer service, creating time and place utility for the customers, demand forecasting, getting the forecast from the sales department and breaking them down into workable units, distribution communication, keeping all the parties informed about what is happening to the inventory, what is happening to the finished products, etc. Inventory control, deciding on the level of service inventory to be maintained, seeing to it that there is not too much of inventory or too less of inventory. Materials handling, dealing with the physical movement of materials, raw material that is coming into the factory and the finished goods that are moving out of the factory. After sales parts and services support, plant and warehouse site selection, procurement of the required materials, packaging, reverse logistics, salvage and scrap disposal of products that have come to the end of their useful life, transportation, warehousing and storage. The interface between logistics and other functions. Logistics is an internal services provider which delivers services to both production as well as to sales and marketing departments. For production, logistics is responsible for getting all the raw material and input components for carrying on the production. For sales and marketing, logistics takes on the responsibility of getting the finished products ready within the time required by the customers and then them dispatching them to the customers. The actual interface happens this way. With marketing, the interface of logistics happens for getting sales forecasts and breaking them down into workable units, collecting the material required for producing the finished products that will meet the customer demand. Okay, that is a concern of the production. Logistics interfaces with the vendors, gets the raw material and packaging materials on time, helps in production scheduling and arranges for transportation and packaging of materials. Finance and accounting. Logistics interacts with the finance section and accounting section in creating the budgets, in setting the budgets for all the activities that it has to do, seeing to it that these budget or standards are met, and in cost cutting. Purchases. Logistics interacts with the purchases. Once the purchasing negotiates the terms of agreement with the vendors, logistics has the responsibility of following up with these vendors and making sure that suppliers will deliver the products in time for production to happen. Quality control. Logistics interacts with the quality control function in terms of checking the quality of all the incoming material before they are sent to the next stage of production. Similarly, finished goods are dispatched to the customers only after logistics gives a green signal of the quality of the products. Extension of logistics to supply chain management. Logistics management and supply chain management are sometimes used interchangeably, but they are having a little difference. Supply chain management incorporates the field of logistics, and logistics is a lot of sub-processes combined together as a part of supply chain management. Actually, supply chain management is said to be the new logistics. Logistics is within the confines of a single company, whereas supply chain management is a network of businesses that collaborate and coordinate their operations. This figure highlights the relationship between distribution function, logistics function and supply chain management. What was once a distribution function of the marketing area has evolved to become logistics management. With the advent of technology and many technological upgradations happening, logistics management has evolved to become what is today's supply chain management. The points of comparison are: scope. Logistics are activities in supply chain management. Whereas supply chain management covers a variety of activities starting from production, inventory management, material handling and manufacturing and delivering goods to the final consumers. Emphasis: logistics emphasizes on meeting customer expectations in an efficient and cost effective manner, whereas supply chain management works towards improving the processes so that competitive advantage is created for the firms in the market. Evolution: logistics started with the military. Many say that Alexander the Great, born 356 BC, was a logistics master. The modern practice of supply chain management started only in the 20th century. The Ford Motor Corporation production lines have perfected the concept of supply chain management. Many say that Keith Oliver is the person who coined the term in the early 1980s. Nature: logistics management is the process of integration and maintenance of flow of goods in an organization, whereas supply chain management is the process of coordination and management of supply chains of an organization. There are external parties involved. The number of companies involved in case of logistics is only one organization, whereas supply chain involves and connects multiple organizations having their own supply chains. The objective of logistics management is to deliver the right product at the right place at the right time. Supply chain management aims at planning, implementing and effective storage of goods and services from the point of manufacture to the point of consumption. Definitions of supply chain management. Christopher has defined supply chain management as the management of upstream and downstream relationship with suppliers and customers to deliver superior customer value at lesser cost to the entire chain as a whole. Thomas and Griffin have defined supply chain management as the management of material and information flows both in and between facilities such as vendors, manufacturing and assembly plants and distribution centers. So, a supply chain in essence is a chain that links each element of manufacturing and supply process from raw material through to end user, encompassing organizational boundaries. The essence of concept of supply chain management. A supply chain consists of all parties involved directly or indirectly in fulfilling a customer order. For example, consider a customer visiting Big Bazaar, a departmental store, for buying a detergent soap. It all starts with the customer's need for the soap. The second entity is the Big Bazaar, the retailer which is housing or stocking the soap. Big Bazaar in turn gets it from other wholesalers or distributors, and these wholesalers or distributors get it from manufacturing firms. All these are the entities which are directly or indirectly involved in fulfilling a customer request for a bar of detergent soap. Next, a supply chain is dynamic and it involves the constant flow of information, product and funds between different stages. Continuing the example, Big Bazaar provides the product as well as pricing and availability information to the customer. Similarly, Big Bazaar tells the wholesalers or the distributors about the replenishment or stock required to be replenished once the customer buys the products from the store. This is how information sharing or exchange of information happens between or across different entities of the supply chain. The supply chain conjures up images of product moving from suppliers to manufacturers to distributors to wholesalers and to retailers all along a chain. Also involved are information flows, funds flow and product flows occurring along both directions of the chain, forward as well as backward. Most supply chains work as networks rather than as individual separate distinct entities. Stages in a typical supply chain are starting with the customer, then the retailer, then wholesaler, the manufacturer, the component suppliers or raw material suppliers. Their suppliers in turn also form a part of the supply chain. This figure highlights the flows involved in supply chain. Usually, the product flows happen in the forward direction from the manufacturers or suppliers to the end users or the customers. Occasionally, this flow may happen in the backward direction whenever there are goods returns by the customers. Similarly, information flow also happens both the ways, and usually it is from the consumer's end to the manufacturer's end about what new products customers want or what changes they want to see in the existing products. Supply chain management entails much more than just delivering the items physically. It entails optimizing all these areas of the organization, namely product management, procurement, manufacturing, logistics, customer service, performance management. Optimizing all these functions is the objective of supply chain management. A supply chain, as opposed to a supply chain management, is a set of organizations directly linked by one or more upstream and downstream flows of products, services, and finances. Managing a supply chain is supply chain management. The objectives of supply chain management. As said earlier, primary objective of supply chain management or logistics management for that matter is to fulfill customer demands, and this has to be done through efficient and effective use of resources and at minimum possible cost. The related objectives are enhancing customer service, expanding sales revenue, giving on-time delivery, reducing order to delivery cycle time, reducing the lead time, reducing transportation costs, warehouse costs, and rationalizing the supplier base. 6 key elements of supply chain management are production, supply, inventory, location, transportation, and information. Production implies the first step in supply chain management is to understand what the customers demand. This will give an insight to the firm about what products to produce. At the strategic level, what to produce, what variety of products to indulge in, and how much to produce are the decisions to be taken. And once at the strategic level these have been decided, at the operational level on a day-to-day basis, firms have to decide the workload of production, how much raw material is required, how much labor is required, and other packaging and component parts are required for carrying on the day's production. The second element of supply chain management is supply. Once decided about the finished product to deal with, there are several components that go into these finished products. Firms have to decide which components they can produce by themselves and which components they have to outsource to third parties. So, when firms outsource to third parties, they have to choose these third parties carefully. These third parties, called as vendors or suppliers, form an important part of supply chain. The quality of the finished product depends on the quality of the component parts supplied by these vendors. Hence, a careful analysis of suppliers has to be done before the firm gives the terms of purchase agreement to these suppliers. The third element of supply chain is inventory. It has to be taken care that there is not too much inventory or too less inventory all along the chain. Now, carrying too much inventory in the chain entails inventory carrying costs, and having too less inventory in the chain may result in disruption of flow of materials all along the chain. Hence, a careful balance has to be struck between the maintenance of appropriate level of inventory and meeting the customer service requirements. The next element is location. Here we are talking about the location of production facilities, stocking facilities, and distribution facilities. There are several factors that have to be considered. First is the nature of the product involved. If the product is a lightweight product, then facilities have to be made as closer to the customers as possible so that the demand of customers can be met easily. If the finished product is made from heavyweight raw material, then it is better for the organization to locate the production plant towards the nearer to the source of raw material. Similarly, storage and warehousing location decisions have to be taken. The next element is transportation. There is a choice of modes of transportation available to the firm, each having its own pros and cons. For instance, air transportation is very fast whereas the cost involved in air transportation is quite high. Similarly, waterways and seaways are less expensive, whereas it takes a lot of time for moving the goods through these modes of transport. Here also firms have to analyze their customer service needs, what levels they have chosen, and depending on that they have to make a choice of the transportation providers. If the firms are aiming 100% customer service level, then they have to go in for airways, because that is the fastest way of making the goods reach the customers. Next element here is information. These days, due to the advent of information technology, real-time information transfer is made possible. Now, whatever sales are happening at the point of purchase at the retail level, the information is passed on to the wholesalers, distributors and manufacturers. All these entities are connected to each other through centralized information system called management information system, or through other updated software technology, which facilitates on-time, real-time information transfer. So, as soon as the stocks get exhausted at the retail level, wholesalers and distributors will know that what demand will be placed by the retailers next, and they can prepare by placing an order to the manufacturer. So, this is how real-time information sharing happens in today's scenario. Now, whatever the elements that we have spoken about, transportation, inventory, location, etc., all these have these functions in common: purchasing, operations, logistics, resource management and information workflow. Purchasing deals with procurement of material. So, whether raw material or packaging components or other component parts that go into the finished products have to be purchased. So, purchasing department or the procurement department will have negotiations with the suppliers or vendors, and terms of purchase are finalized. Then supply chain management follows up with these vendors and ensures that timely deliveries are made, so that production is not disrupted, production happens smoothly. Operations function of supply chain management deals with forecasting and demand management. In order to avoid revenue losses, firms have to ensure that what is demanded by the customers is always produced and ready. Therefore, everything begins with appropriate forecasting. There are several techniques of demand forecasting. Although exact forecasted figure may not be the actual demand, however, firms have to have some figure in place in order to start their production activities. Hence, the need for demand forecasting. And demand forecasting has to be tied up with inventory management, production and shipping. Logistics function of supply chain management is that part which coordinates all planning aspects, purchasing, production and transportation aspects, to ensure that products reach the end consumer quickly without any hindrances or without any delay. Resource management function of supply chain management ensures that right resources are allocated to the right activities in an optimized way. Customized production schedule is prepared and the schedule is met in order to maximize the operations efficiency. Next is information workflow. Sharing of information throughout the chain, across the chain with all entities, keeps all the functions on the track. If anywhere any lapse of information sharing happens, then the entire chain will be disrupted. Activities like transportation, inventory management, all these will go haywire if there is no proper information sharing or a proper information workflow. Next, the need and importance of supply chain management. In today's scenario, it has become inevitable for firms to adapt themselves to the new supply chain technologies. This is because of reasons like proliferation of product lines. There are n number of products available for each need that the customers have. For instance, there are 40 plus brands of toilet soaps now available in the market. So, when so many products and so many brands are there in the market, it is inevitable for the firms to have appropriate supply chain practices in order to ensure timely delivery of goods and that customer satisfaction is enhanced. Shorter product life cycles. Across many product categories, the life cycles of products have become shorter. For example, in personal computers industry, it is as short as 6 months. So firms should have supply chain strategies that will help them in replacing these obsolete products without any lapse of time. So availability of inventory, these are promised, these are enhanced through appropriate supply chain management practices. Higher level of outsourcing. Most of the firms these days are focusing on their core activities and giving away their non-core activities. Bharti Televentures, for example, has outsourced network management, it has outsourced call center management. So when so many activities are outsourced, firms have to coordinate with all these organizations which are providing them the outsourced functions. Hence the need for supply chain management. Next reason is the shift in power structure of the channels. Now across all the industries, the entities which are nearer to the customers have become more powerful. For example, retailer is the nearest entity to the customer. So many retailers have become very powerful these days. As I said, there are many products and brands that are chasing the retail space, but the retail space is not increasing at the same pace. Therefore, retailers have become more powerful. Walmart, world's biggest retailer, ensures that suppliers supply the material, replenish the stocks on a daily basis based on the real-time sales data. It exchanges information about the sales made every day with the suppliers so that suppliers replenish the stock on a daily basis. Globalization of manufacturing. Manufacturing has become more of a globalized function these days. Electronic chips manufacturing company, for example, buys from Taiwan, tests them in Europe and finally integrates them with other products in the USA, and then they are sold internationally. So when such worldwide spread of activities is happening, coordination and collaboration is what is the need of the hour. Hence the importance of supply chain management. In this session, I have discussed logistics management, how it has evolved, the essence of supply chain management, the transformation of logistics management into supply chain management, what are the supply chain activities, need and importance of supply chain management.